Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Tel Aviv. I'm Natasha Kirchuk here with ILTV's morning briefing from Israel.
The Israeli PM has announced plans to advance a bill to suspend lawmakers from the Knesset for unseemly behavior. The legislation would require at least 90 Knesset members to vote against booting a lawmaker after consultations with coalition parties. Netanyahu has not elaborated on what unseemly behavior implies or how long suspension for such behavior would last. Yet the bill is clearly being proposed just after 3 Arab Israeli lawmakers met with the relatives of Palestinian terrorists. Netanyahu blasted their meetings, saying the Balad party members do not deserve to be in the Knesset. Hamas has just released a video encouraging activists to carry out suicide bombings in Israel. The Palestinian terror group's inflammatory music video calls on terrorists to target civilians on public buses, saying the intifada is not an intifada if the bus roof doesn't fly off. The song also praises terrorists who have already perpetrated attacks. Recently, Hamas officials have openly demanded a resurgence of attacks against Israelis, and over 30 Israelis have been killed since October 2015. Meanwhile, the Israeli Security Cabinet has approved a plan to allow 30,000 more Palestinians to work in Israel, despite the ongoing wave of terror. In the recent violence, only 2 attacks were carried out by Palestinians working in Israel, and both assailants were in Israel illegally. Around 58,000 Palestinians have permits to work within Israel, but an estimated 120,000 work for Israelis. The additional 30,000 workers are expected to be employed in agriculture, construction, infrastructure, and services. There's widespread support in the Israeli military for adding Palestinians to the workforce, since it's proven to restrain terror. The Israeli ambassador to the UN, Danon, is demanding the UN Secretary General to retract his statements regarding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Ban Ki-moon recently declared that Palestinian terror attacks against Israel are a natural response to Israeli occupation. His comments came on the same day that a 23-year-old Israeli terror victim was buried in Jerusalem. Danon has now sent a letter to the Secretary General, urging Ban Ki-moon to clarify that there's no justification for the bloodshed of Israeli victims. Danon is accusing Ben of creating 2 categories of terrorism, one against Israel and one against the rest of the world.
That's all for now. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.